So we are working on section, what's a terrible S? 8.4, which is trig, okay, trigonometry. Remember that stuff? Okay, we do the trigonometry with, this particular trigonometry, with right triangles. Here's a question that they could possibly ask you. I'm not doing problems right from the homework I'm going to give you. I'm just making these up, all right? So let's call that A, call that B, and call this C. Look, I'll make that 3, 4, 5, just to make the numbers easy for us, okay? So here's a right triangle. And what they're going to do is they're going to ask you a few things. They'll ask you, like, I don't know, find the sine of angle A. Everybody watching? So if I ask you to find the sine of A, here's the angle right there. Do you remember the little mnemonic device that we remember? That it sounds like an Indian word? Sohcahtoa. Right, Sohcahtoa. Remember that? Sohcahtoa. All right? All right, Sohcahtoa. So we're doing the sine, which is the so, right? S-O-H. So what does that mean? Opposite over hypotenuse, right? So here's the angle. Which one's opposite this angle? 3. Which one's hypotenuse? 5. So it's 3 over 5. So they'll ask you several questions like this, and that's all you have to do. That's your answer right there. Just 3/5. That's simple, isn't it? Yeah. Now, they could ask you this. They could say, find the angle. Find angle A. So we use the sine. To find angle A, I have to get rid of the sine. How do I get rid of that sine? Inverse. Thank you. All right. Didn't I hammer this into your head enough? Right? To get rid of the sine, we take the inverse. Right? To find the angle, we take the inverse of it. So A equals the inverse sine of whatever this is, 3 over 5. And what do you do once you get to this? Use a what? Calculator. Right. Now, it depends on what calculator you're using on how you're going to do this. On this calculator, you hit second function sine, then you hit 3 divided by 5. If you have a TI-30, which most of you do, you hit 3 over 5 equals. Okay, everybody listening? You get 3 over 5 equals, and then you hit second function sine, you'll get your answer. Everybody hear me? So it's a little different depending on what calculator you're using. On this, you still get the same answer. 36, it's an angle. What do we normally do with the angles? Round it, yeah, to the nearest angle. Well, that's a weird 3. 37 degrees. It's approximately 37 degrees. It's about. Can you remember that? How to find the angles? Now look, somebody in the other class said this. Listen to me. They're like, well, what about, I thought it was like the sine of A over A or something like that. What were they talking about? If they said sine of A over A. The law of sines. We're not doing the law of sines. The only time we use the law of sines or the law of cosines is when our triangle is what? It's not a right triangle. Yeah, it's not a right triangle. Okay? If it's not a right triangle, then we can try law of sines, law of cosines. If it's a right triangle, stick with this stuff right here. These are called our trig functions. All right, let me write that down up here. This is called our trig functions. Now look, there are situations where you could use the law of sines, law of cosines right here. You could use that. But I'm telling you, it's way more work than you need to do. I'm trying to show you the best way to do these things, I promise you. Okay, I'm not trying to show you the hard way and the long way to do these. I'm trying to show you the easiest way to do this stuff, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to do the trig functions, okay? Let's do another one. I'm just making these up. Let's make the triangle look like this time. Still a right triangle, so we're still using our trig functions, okay? So we're not using law of sines, law of cosines. We're not doing that on either one of these lessons. We'll do that in the next lesson. On this one, let me think. Let's say we're going to solve for x and y, and let's say this is like 27 degrees. And let's say we need to know something else. Let's say this is like 10. All right? Everybody watching? This is a classic trig function type of problem. It's not real hard. It's pretty basic. Okay, that's what I mean by classic problem. It's a real kind of normal trig problem, I guess, if you want to refer to it that way. It's about one of the easier types we'll do. Let's say we want to solve for x first. So which trig function am I going to use if I want to solve for x? Remember, it's Sohcahtoa. So I'll write it down so we can look at it and remember. So it's Sohcahtoa. Which trig function are we going to use to solve for x? Well, we're using this angle, right? How do you know cosine? Because this is what? Adjacent, and they tell you the hypotenuse. Good. Everybody understand that? It's not that hard. You look to see what you're trying to find. Look to see what they tell you. This is adjacent. This is hypotenuse. You look up here. Which one has adjacent and hypotenuse? The cosine does. So that's how we know to use the cosine. People ask me all the time after I teach this stuff, I just don't know which one to use. Well, look to see what you're trying to find and what they give you. That tells you which one you're going to use. So we use the cosine. So the cosine of this angle. This is adjacent to this angle, so we use this angle right here. The cosine of 27 is adjacent over hypotenuse, x over 10. This is about as easy as it gets. Right, multiply both sides by 10, and now plug that into your calculator. Alright, so it's 10. On this calculator, I can just hit 10 cosine of 27. On your calculators, you would hit 27 cosine times 10 equals, okay? And you should get the same thing, 8.9. So x is about 8.9. Alright, so that's the kind of stuff that you're going to be doing. So I already gave you the assignment. So work on that assignment and have fun with that.